Hi, my name is Kathleen Hamilton, and I am the author of Terralepus and the book series. And today I'll be reading from Terralepus Return to Elcid, and the book is illustrated by Brian Beecroft. And basically, the story is the Elcidians finally arrive at Terralepus as Jackie and Captain Tye try to negotiate, and a small war breaks out before peace is restored. As the last of the gift ships pass through the Elcidian time portal, an explosion occurs, taking Lilly and Cupid with it. Alright. As the Elcidian ships arrived in the Creandor universe, Jackie watched in heightened anticipation as one of the ships entered their atmosphere and headed toward the Aeronautical Space and Exploration Center. For years, all the planets had planned and prepared their gifts of plants, seeds, and other supplies in hopes of saving their universe from being harvested by the Elcidians. Now the moment of truth had arrived. Cora, Lily, Trixie, Thomas, Sam, and Cupid stood outside and watched as the spaceship flew in for a landing. Its width was huge and its dull frame seemed worn from travel. Imperial fleet was posted on its side. The stairs descended and everyone watched as one hedgehog walked down the stairs towards the group. Captain Tye walked up to Jackie. "Commander," said Captain Tye in a broken voice. Jackie smiled back at Captain Tye. "Run, Jackie! Get out of here!" he shouted, before he fell to the ground. Jackie stepped back as she felt strong arms grasp her tightly. She screamed and felt something rest against her head. "I'm sorry, Commander, but I have a job to do, and having the captain of my ship plan a revolt against me after all these years of traveling across the continuum of space is not in my plans." Alright, so let me find chapter 6 here. Alright. Jackie quietly walked the base of the Aeronautical Space and Exploration Center. Everything was quiet and uneventful, she thought. She walked into the monitor room and over to Marilyn, who was studying something on her computer. Marilyn looked up. "Hi, Jackie. How are you?" "I'm fine, Marilyn," she replied as she leaned over Marilyn's shoulder and stared at the screen. There, several spaceships could be seen heading in their direction. "How many ships, Marilyn?" asked Jackie. 539, replied Marilyn. "That's an odd number," said Jackie. She walked over to the next computer. "What do you have for me, Joanne?" Asked Jackie. "I have 100 ships from planet Zorion, foxes on screen, and 50 ships from planet Decidia, sloths. Planet Ion, cats, is behind this group of ships with 75 ships." "Good," replied Jackie. She moved over to the next screen. "John, what do we have?" 25 ships from planet Cania, dogs. 20 ships from planet Boricius, elephants. 30 ships from planet Frondoso, giraffes. And 29 ships from planet Quasatio, monkeys or apes. Jackie nodded and walked over to the next computer. "Sally, what do you have?" 10 ships from planet Indigo, rhinoceros. 40 ships from the planet Gignius, bears. 30 ships from the planet Encilius, deer. And 50 ships from the planet Arctos, polar bears. "Good," she replied, before moving on to the next computer. "What do you have for me, Jane?" said Jackie. 15 ships from the planet Carpassinus, sheep. 20 ships from the planet Turgo, raccoons. And 25 ships from the planet Tango, platypus. Jackie nodded and moved over to the next computer. "Commander," said Leroy, "we have 30 ships from planet Fortuitus, hamsters. 50 ships from planet Hevaticus, gerbils. 40 ships from planet Boomka, chipmunks. 25 ships from planet Espron, squirrels. And 37 ships from planet Kuran, naked mole rats." "Thank you, Leroy," said Jackie as she moved on to the next computer. "Hi, Commander," said Deborah. "We have 22 ships from planet Euro, groundhogs. 29 ships from planet Olfactor, skunks. 40 ships from planet Marcitus, turtles, 50 ships from planet Limus, pigs, and 20 ships from planet Celito, frogs. And everyone is here, said Jackie. She looked at her staff and sighed before leaving the room. Captain Jasmine, said Jackie, as she stepped out of the room. Jasmine turned around and looked at Jackie. Yes, Commander? Are all our ships ready? Yes, Commander, she replied. Excellent, replied Jackie, as she continued on down the hall. Jackie headed out toward the next building and entered, walking down to Lumen's room. Jackie knocked on the door and entered. Lumen, said Jackie, how are you? Lumen sat on his bed next to Estella, Luna, and Orion. He was crying on Estella's shoulder. I wish this didn't have to end, he cried. He reached over and put his arms around Luna. I love all of you so much. Luna and Orion hugged Lumen. Dad, don't go, cried Luna. You're going to be okay, he said as he looked at his children. He reached over and kissed Estella, before he turned and kissed Luna and Orion on the cheek. Lumen stood up and walked over to Jackie. He looked at her, placing his paw under her chin. Thank you for everything, he said. He leaned over and kissed Jackie on the cheek before walking over to the door. He turned and looked at everyone, then suddenly disappeared. Estella covered her mouth and screamed before bawling. Orion jumped up and slowly walked over to the door in disbelief. Jackie's CB crackled to life. Commander, they have arrived. Jackie, Luna, Orion, and Estella quickly headed outside and looked up at the darkened sky. Commander Duncan, permission to land, said one of the hedgehogs. Permission granted, replied Jackie with bated breath. Cora, Lilly, Trixie, Thomas, Sam, and Cupid stood outside and watched with Jackie as one of the spaceships flew in for a landing. Its width was huge and its dull frame seemed worn from travel. Imperial fleet was posted on its side. The stairs descended and the door opened as everyone watched and waited to see who would step off of the ship. One hedgehog walked down the stairs towards the room. Estella stared as she recognized her husband Lumen, who was younger looking than his counterpart. Captain Tye, Lumen, stared at Estella. She stared back only to see fear in his eyes. Captain Tye walked up to Jackie. Commander, said Captain Tye in a broken voice. Jackie smiled back at Captain Tye. Run, Jackie, get out of here, he shouted at her before he fell to the ground. Jackie stepped back but felt strong arms grab her and pin her arms to her back. Jackie screamed and felt something rest up against her head. Now, I suggest the rest of you don't move, said a voice from behind her back. I'm sorry, Commander, but I have a job to do, and having the captain of my ship plan a revolt against me after all these years of traveling across the continuum of space is not in my plans. Thomas stepped forward. Who are you, and why can't we see you? He asked. He's invisible, replied Captain Tye, standing up. We all have that capability. Hold still, Captain, replied Commander Eston. Touch that button, and she's a goner. Everyone watched as Jackie was leaned back, and she started to stumble backwards. Commander, said Commander Eston, call your troops off. We have a harvest to follow through with. Jackie struggled. Never, she hollered. We all deserve to live. Commence the attack, ordered Commander Eston into his microphone. The teens gasped and shut their helmets. Let's go, yelled Cora, as she rotated her arms and atomically manipulated the air, pushing her mother and Commander Eston down. The teens flew into the sky as Jackie quickly turned over and wrestled with Commander Eston for his laser gun. Captain Tye ran over and patted the ground until he grabbed one arm and pried the laser gun from his paw. The gun reappeared as soon as it left Commander Eston's paw, and Captain Tye threw it behind him, only to be picked up by Orion. Orion pointed the gun at the empty ground near Jackie. I suggest you stop, said Orion. Commander Eston stopped moving for a moment, and Captain Tye felt for the button on his uniform and pressed it. He reappeared, huffing and puffing. You're going to get us all killed, cried Commander Eston. I believe that's what you are doing right now, replied Captain Tye as he looked up at the sky. Captain Tye and Jackie picked up Commander Eston as the security guards ran up to them. The guards took Commander Eston inside. Captain Tye turned and looked at Orion. He quickly walked over to Orion and hugged him. How I have missed you. Captain Tye hugged him for a couple of minutes. He let go and grabbed Luna, pulling her in for a hug. Luna sniffled as she hugged him back. Captain Tye looked over at his wife and started to cry as he reached over and grabbed her, hugging her tightly. Oh, my love, I have waited for this day for a long time, Captain Tye said quietly. He kissed Estella before leaning back and speaking into his microphone. Lieutenant Granger, call off the attack. Captain Tye, I've been given orders that the commander can only call it off. Captain Tye turned to Jackie. We've got to get back to Commander Eston. Cora, Lily, Trixie, Sam, and Thomas flew until they reached the exosphere. They stared at the Elcidian ships and watched as thousands of tiny droids were deployed. Cheese and crackers, hollered Sam into his microphone as the droids spread out everywhere. Sam put out his paws and shot ice at several incoming droids, which immediately froze and floated by him. His brother Thomas kept swinging and hitting droids. Look out, yelled Trixie as the droids started to shoot. Cora gathered up energy from the sun as she glowed and pointed her paws at the droids. Several of them sizzled and floated away in space. Several olfactorian ships joined in the fight against the droids as the teens spread out. You promised a negotiation, Commander Duncan, growled Commander Korn. Silence followed. Where is she? Asked Captain Cracker. I don't know, replied Commander Korn. He pressed a button on the microphone. We need to stop the androids. Attack. Several Fartuitan ships headed into the fray. Lily fought the droids as they seemed to overwhelm her. She looked over at the Elcidian ships. She raised her arms and swung them around, pushing against space itself and watching as the droids and several Elcidian ships floated backwards. The droids returned to Lily, and she electrocuted them with the power that she drew off of the sun. She turned and looked at the others who were still fighting. Listen to me, said Jackie into Lily's earpiece. I need a ceasefire. We are here for you. Down on Terralepus, Jackie was in the Imperial fleet ship, talking on the Elcidian's microphone and on hers at the same time. I know you have traveled a long way, and many of you live in fear of punishment if you don't do what Imperial Voltaire says. But you are more powerful and stronger than Imperial Voltaire, and to do what is right will save your planet for many more years to come. I want you to go back home to your families and your lives. All the planets in the Creandor universe want to help you survive. We all have special gifts to make that possible. Lieutenant Granger stood next to Jackie as she spoke. He reached over to the microphone and spoke into it. Pull back the droids. We have an opportunity to save our planet. Jackie looked over at Lieutenant Granger. Hi, I'm Commander Duncan, she said, extending her paw to him. Ah, the famous Jackie I've been listening to for a while. Yes, replied Jackie with a smile. So where do we start? Asked Lieutenant Granger. We start by having 2 men board each gift ship, replied Jackie. I'll get the portal set up, replied Lieutenant Granger. Jackie stepped off of the ship and headed back inside. She headed over to her microphone and called each ship from each planet to come forward and allow 2 Elcidians on each ship as the other space explorers transferred to another one of their ships. Jackie watched the computer screens as the transfers started to take place. In space, the teens gathered together and watched as 4 spaceships with strange pieces of metal on their backside backed up and met together to form a metallic circle. An astronaut stepped out of one of the ships and started to tighten the bolts. When he was done, he headed over to the ship and waited as 2 Fartuitan ships headed near the circle with a gift ship. Within moments, the circle started to glow and swirl quietly. Some of the gift ships started to head toward the swirling circle, and one by one they passed through and disappeared. The astronauts from the 4 ships exited and waited for a gift ship to pick them up. Ships from the other planets started to head home, and soon space started to grow quieter as each gift ship passed through the portal. Cupid flew next to Lilly. They watched as the Imperial fleet, with Commander Eston, Lumen, and his family, headed up into space and went through the portal after the last ship. Lilly looked over and saw an Elcidian ship floating in space. "Mom, there's a spaceship not moving. It looks like the lights aren't even on." Lilly flew over to get a closer look as Cupid followed her. "Lilly, I don't think anyone's on the ship," he replied, as they looked in the spaceship's windows. They turned and looked at each other. The lights flickered, and Cupid and Lilly looked back. "I think you're right," Cupid replied Lilly. "In fact, I think they abandoned the ship." "Why?" replied Cupid. "I know they needed hedgehogs to drive the ships, but they took their own ships back." The lights flickered again, and Cupid and Lilly turned to look again. "This gives me the creeps," said Lilly. "Let's go." As they headed back, they heard a tremendous screech come from the spaceship, and Lilly looked back to see a brilliant light emitting from the window of the spaceship before it disintegrated and blew apart before her eyes. In a flash, the explosion caught up with the two of them, and Lilly closed her eyes and braced for the impact. Cupid disappeared from sight, and Lilly felt herself caught up in the explosion as she hurtled toward the swirling light and passed through the portal. The explosion ripped the metallic circle apart, the swirling light, spitting a quick sizzle before it ceased to exist. Cora, Trixie, Sam, and Thomas stared in utter disbelief. Trixie muttered the first sound. "No." "What just happened?" snapped Jackie into the microphone. "Cupid and Lilly are gone," replied Cora hoarsely. "The ship blew up, and they're gone." Silence followed. "Come back to Terralepus," said Captain Roger. "Yes, sir," replied Cora, as the rest of the teens followed her back. When they landed, they headed inside. All four of them wrapped their arms around their mother as they tried to console a weeping Jackie. "Commander Duncan," said Captain Tye, "what just happened? We saw an explosion come through our portal, and we want to know if everything is all right." "Captain Tye," said Captain Roger, "one of your ships exploded and caught Lilly and Cupid." "Oh no," moaned Captain Tye. "I'm so sorry. I thought someone was on that ship to bring it through." "I understand," replied Captain Roger. He turned to look at Jackie as she sobbed before he headed into another room to make some phone calls. So, anyway, this book, Terralepus Return to Elcid, is available on Amazon.com. And if you want to check out this book and the other books, you can also go to my website, www.terralepus.com. And in addition, there is another website, www.kathleenmhamilton.com, where you can actually purchase the books from there. And Terralepus is available on Instagram and Facebook, and of course the other YouTube videos. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you in the stars.